Welcome back to the Photos by Mikey podcast. My name is Mikey, your host for today's episode. Today I have my good friend Christina Kennedy on the podcast.
Hello.
Welcome. How you doing?
Good. How's it going, Mikey?
Good. So she is a wedding officiant. She's been a wedding officiant since 2016, right?
Yep.
And we've worked together in the past. We actually, I believe it was at the Mission Inn Hotel.
Right.
That was an interesting day because it was super hot.
So hot. 105 degrees at least, right? Probably closer to 14.
Yeah, because it was like at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m.
Yeah, they're like, let's do it. The hottest part of the day, outside, in the sun.
In the sun.
Sure.
And I mean, the light was directly
Yeah.
on you guys too, so I felt so bad.
Pictures turned out great, though.
Yeah, thank you.
At least there's that.
Thank you so much. So I'm super excited because I'm going to really kind of ask you a ton of questions regarding your niche or your specific industry.
Sweet.
Because you're the first person that I'm going to be interviewing as an officiant. So,
Cool.
But let's kind of learn a little bit about yourself and your story. So let's kind of like bring it all the way back, maybe to your college days. So go for it, Christina.
Should we go all the way back to the college days? It's like a what happens in Vegas kind of thing with college, isn't it?
Yeah. So how did you get into let's start off with, let's just start off with you.
How did I get here? Well, I was born, so let's see. I started going to school to college right after high school because I was just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life, what I want to do with my life. So I guess I'll just jump right in and go to school and figure it out.
Absolutely.
So I started out at community college at Mount San Jacinto College in Menifee and earned an associate's degree in theater, and then transferred and switched majors. So I switched majors to literature and writing studies, and that was at Cal State San Marcos.
Right.
While I was there, I still wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with my life. So I decided more school was the answer. I went and transferred to Cal State Fullerton, where I earned my master's degree in English. And while I was in that program, I was in a year-long faculty internship program called SEDICA. It's an acronym for San Diego Imperial County Community College Association.
Okay.
So you get linked up with another faculty member in the same discipline that you're in at some local community college, usually of your preference.
Right.
And you work closely with them as kind of like a teacher's assistant, and then in the second semester of the program, they offer you a class to teach completely on your own as a professor, provided that they think you're ready and everything. So they thought I was ready, and that was the first time that I taught an English course. It was English 101, and that was in early 2015.
Right.
Ever since then, I've been teaching part-time at a few different community colleges. One is Mount San Jacinto College, so where I went to school originally.
Nice.
Yeah. And then also at Palomar College in San Marcos. So I'm a freeway flyer, as they're called.
Okay.
So between there, it's pretty much full-time work. But when the pandemic hit, let me back up.
Yeah.
In 2016, I was just thinking about how easy it was for my best friend to get ordained, not much earlier before that. And I was like, well, maybe I feel like I should do that. Maybe I should do that. So I did. I got ordained online. It took about 2 minutes.
I was curious about that. Like, how do you? Is it like a course or a test? Like, how does it work?
There might be some programs out there that are a little more extensive and like kind of provide you with tools and quizzes and such, and reviews, like things to review before you actually become ordained. But in the state of California, things are so laissez-faire when it comes to rules to be ordained. Like, we could get you ordained right now if you want.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So it's really easy. And so I decided to do it, and then the very next day, I saw a childhood friend of mine that I hadn't seen in years, and she was like, guess what? I'm like, what? Let me guess. You're engaged? And she was like, yeah. Showed me the ring, was all excited, and I'm like, I literally just got ordained yesterday. Do you want me to marry you guys?
Oh, wow.
And that was the first wedding I did. They got married like 5 weeks later in a backyard wedding, and that was the first one I did.
Oh, no way.
And so from there, I was just doing weddings and for like friends or friends of friends, for really inexpensive, because I was like, I don't really know like what I'm doing here. This isn't really like a professional thing yet. And then I also renewed my parents' 30th wedding anniversary vows, which was really precious. And then from there, like the pandemic hit, I was working from home completely with teaching, and I was kind of getting stir crazy. And towards the tail end of 2021, I thought, why don't I lean into the officiating stuff more? So I got affiliated as a vendor on The Knot and Wedding Wire.
Yeah.
And it basically, since then, the rest is history.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain how that process works again in terms of like applying online for? Is it like a license? How does it work? Like when you take a course online?
Like for the officiating,
Yeah.
It's really easy. Like you just fill out your name, your current mailing address, like you create like a login and everything, and then that's pretty much it. It's through the Universal Life Church is what it's called.
Okay.
The website is themonastery.org.
Okay.
But yeah, it says get ordained online right now. Some states have more limitations on like whether or not that works in their state as like a valid officiant, like license basically. But once you click submit and it's like you're ordained and it shows like your name on a pretty like certificate.
Yeah.
You can order the certificate. You can order things that make it seem more official.
Yeah, I've seen some
like badges. Yeah. So I have like a little it's like a little almost like a driver's license sized card that I have that has like the Universal Life Church and then my name on it just so it looks more official. Beyond that, I don't really have anything that proves that I am because in California you don't need it.
Really? So when you become official, right, as an officiant, then you're able to like do the officiating for ceremonies and actually sign the license?
Yeah.
Oh,
like
wow.
immediately after you.
Wow, right
so
away.
it's one of those things like because sometimes couples will ask me, you know, what do we do if like suddenly you're sick or like you hit traffic and you're going to be like an hour late or something? What do we do? And I'm like, worst case scenario, I can send over the ceremony script and I can tell someone to get ordained and they can do it that day.
Oh my God,
yeah.
that's crazy.
I mean, and though, you know, that kind of defeats the purpose of my entire profession.
Exactly.
That's like a worst case scenario thing that I offer up to them where it's like, it's not difficult. You know, like having a professional do it is totally different than having a family member or a friend do it.
Yeah.
But it's the worst case scenario kind of backup you could have.
Exactly.
So.
Because I've seen, you know, some family members that on the last minute, I was like, oh, I'm officiating today because, you know, they want me to officiate. This is my first time. And they're super nervous, right?
Yeah.
So even though it's so easy to get the official like licensing, I mean, it's still going to be like a process. Like you got to have some experience doing this, right? Because every ceremony is different. And then so explain to us and how you kind of personalize each couple's ceremony. Because I want to get to know like how you approach that.
Yeah. That's a great question. So I do a couple of different things because that's my whole thing. Like I think it even says on a lot of the text area, like in underneath my posts on social media, I say that it's like On Point Officiant because that's the name of my business. I say like customized, personalized ceremonies for modern, fun couples.
Right.
So what I do to make sure that it's customized and personalized is I ask a bunch of questions in an initial consultation to see if I think I will be a good fit for them. This can for example, if I ask them how long of a ceremony they're hoping to have, if they say 45 minutes to an hour, that's not really my thing.
Yeah.
That usually means they're looking for someone that is much more heavily religious or wanting to focus the ceremony on religion and then having like the couple and their relationship being almost like secondary.
Right.
And in which case I just know I wouldn't be a good fit from the beginning because I do non-denominational or like non-religious completely.
Are you all inclusive?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. I'll do if two people want to get married and they're over 18, then yes, you bet.
That's awesome.
I'm all about it.
One thing I really want to ask you because, you know, when couples reach out to you, right, and they want to kind of incorporate like their personal story.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was gonna get there.
So how do you get there?
I do the same thing. I'm like, let's go this way in this conversation. So after that initial consultation and I ask them some questions to see if I think I'll be a good fit. From there we move into if they decide to book with me. I use this business management website. I don't know if you use it, Honeybook.
Oh, I do.
Oh man,
I love that software.
It is a game changer. Game changer for like creative business owners. So good. So I use that where there's a contract, an invoice and payment, and then a questionnaire. The questionnaire is where I get the bits of them that help me personalize the ceremony.
Gotcha.
I ask them questions like, tell me about your love story. I ask each of them to describe one another to me. So instead of, how do you describe yourself? I flip it. I ask them to tell me things they've seen at wedding ceremonies that they totally hated.
That's good. That's a good point, I think.
Yeah.
Some couples, like, they may not be so specific, but I think that's a good question to ask.
Yeah, because, like, asking the things that they like, I mean, for some people, it's a lot of the things that everyone likes, but what are the things that you hate? Like, do you hate the garter toss? Okay. Even if that has nothing to do with the ceremony in my part, it's good to kind of get an idea of what are the things that you don't like.
Right.
So I know I can get an idea of what kind of people I'm working with, I also ask questions like, tell me about the roles that your families play in your lives, because that's so important, and it probably is for you too, to make sure that you're not going in thinking that the dynamic is, all happy and hunky-dory. Let's pull in a weird term from eons past. Like that everybody's happy and like gets along really well.
Exactly.
And then you're like, okay, let's have mom and dad stand next to each other, and they're like, we hate each other. And it's just the same as like, I can't come in and be like, oh, mom and dad, da-da-da-da. It's like, don't pair them together. They can't stand each other.
Right.
Or like, we have a strained relationship with these family members. And I ask them to just tell me about the venue, tell me, anything else that they can think of that I didn't include in the questionnaire, tell me about their hobbies. So all kinds of things to kind of get an idea of how they want me to customize the ceremony. And then I also ask them questions about the type of ritual they want to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which, for an explanation on what the ritual is, it's a symbolic gesture to express the unification of the two people coming together.
Right.
So there's the unity candle, there's hand fasting, which is getting really popular, I think, because of Outlander.
Can you explain that?
Hand fasting?
Yeah.
It's like a literal tying of a knot. So the couple will stand facing each other and their hands will be like placed together, and I will take either a cord or a rope or like sometimes they use like tartan, like kilt cloth, and like I'll tie it over their hands and like kind of tie them together. And there's a couple of different ways I can do it. It just depends on what kind of material they give me. And in the end, depending upon what it is, we could have them each grab an end of it and pull it to tie a knot.
That's awesome.
Or sometimes it just ties their hands together really pretty and it looks good.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So once you have all that information, like how do you set up like the way you're gonna host or kind of like officiate the wedding? Like
the order of it?
Yeah, like do you have a specific like template for most of the couples?
So I have a general outline that I abide by. So of course, and I usually go over it, especially if I can tell that, like in the initial consultation, if I can tell that the couple is unsure of exactly the process of a wedding ceremony. And most of us are anyway, because we see them all the time. And maybe if you don't, I mean, you remember the rings and the vows, and that's pretty much it.
Exactly.
The rest of it, it's all kind of fuzzy because we're too busy going, oh, they're so beautiful. Look at this beautiful day, right? It's a beautiful wedding. So there's usually some sort of welcome message at the beginning. Yep. And then I move into what I call the marriage address, which is just talking about the idea of marriage, what that's going to mean for these two people specifically in their relationship. From there, I'd move into the reading, which is my loose term that I use for some sort of text that I implement based on what they want.
Got it.
And it could be scripture, it could be a poem, a song, like a movie quote, whatever. Yeah. Whatever suits them. And if it just speaks to them as a couple, but it's not directly related to love or marriage, I'm like, I will find a way to make that work.
Right.
From there, we would move into the vows. And then the ritual, and then the ring exchange, and then the pronouncement. So I now pronounce you married, or wife and wife, husband and husband, husband and wife, however they want it to be said. And then I move out of the way for that kiss picture.
That's great. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
I was going to get to that.
Sometimes couples will be like, can you move? I'm like, yeah. Oh, yeah, I always do.
I've had a couple where, unfortunately, like, some people that are not like super aware of what's happening, or they just get caught up in the moment, the officiants, and they're just like they're clapping, they're right behind, and I tell the couple like, well, unfortunately he was still in the shot, so you have to go back and take that photo again.
No, that's tough, because it is easy to get wrapped up in it, but like I have even in my script, I used to anyway, now I just kind of do it naturally, but get out of the way, all in big and bold, like don't get wrapped up, move.
That's a good like reminder. That's awesome. So how's your like education helped you really like provide that unique service to couples?
So much. It's funny because I never saw myself doing this professionally, but it makes so much sense to me and the things that I'm interested in and enjoy doing, because there's the creative writing aspect of curating the ceremonies and customizing them, of course, and then there's the performative element. Even though I often tell my couples it's a ceremony, not a performance, it feels performative for me in some ways. And so that brings in my theater degree that I can still like tap into with this. And just using language and playing with it and enjoying it and using it for a beautiful purpose.
That's awesome.
It's a dream job, honestly.
Right. I can imagine, because it's like you're creating moments that's so unique, and then you're also being creative at the same time. That's so awesome. So in most of your ceremonies, like how much time, or what's the time frame typically, like is it,
how long is it?
How long does it normally last for you?
So from processional, so entrance, to recessional, exit, it depends kind of on a few different things, like how big is the bridal party, how if they want to include everything that I just kind of outlined, because sometimes couples will skip the ritual, so that shaves off some time. Sometimes they want to include more than one ritual, so that adds a bunch of time.
Gotcha.
But I'd say the window is usually, for my sweet spot, is 15 to 25 minutes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a good, like, because like if it's a hot day, like, oh my goodness. Like, you don't want to be standing out there for an hour baking in the sun.
Yeah, exactly. Like when that day, that mission in day, it's like a day which will live in infamy.
Oh my goodness.
At least for me, I was like, oh, okay, I'm so glad. Like this ceremony script, it's like a page front and back. We're good.
Yeah, they were super simple couple. They were amazing.
Yeah, so much fun.
Yeah, they're so much fun. So do you help them with the marriage license?
I can. I usually just provide some guidance on like where to go, like what, because I'll send a link on what county clerk office they would need to go to, and I usually just send whichever one is local to them. So yeah, it's the county clerk office. So I have different links from all different kinds of counties all over Southern California, because I do weddings in San Diego County, Riverside County, San Bernardino. That's pretty much it. I mean, I'm open to going to Orange and LA. I just haven't done those too much yet. I've done Orange a couple of times. But yeah, so I send them info on the marriage license. I tell them, which I don't know how it works in every state, but at least in California, they can't even go to apply for the license until 90 days before the ceremony date.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's one of the last few things they do. So they apply for the license online, and then they have to make an appointment to both physically go in and sign it.
Into the courthouse?
So the county clerk office. Sometimes I think they are like attached to the courthouses. But yeah, from there they have to go in, provide a couple of forms of ID, and they sign the license there.
Got it.
And that's something that a lot of couples, when I'm getting the license from them on the day of and collecting signatures of their witnesses, they're like, wait, don't we have to sign it? I'm like, no, you should have already done it.
Right.
Because they wanted to make sure that you are actually you. Exactly. And consenting to this marriage at the county clerk office. So, sometimes they sign it for fakesies.
Yeah, absolutely. That's because I've done a ton of like civil court weddings, right, where they have to go to clerk, to the clerk court or whatever, and then basically I always advise them, like, you're still gonna take like 15-20 minutes. You're gonna sit down with the clerk and go over the forms again. I think they have to verify your information. And
make sure there's no typos.
And then they're gonna ask you. They're gonna ask the couple, like, who's your witnesses, and some personal information, because they need specific information that's gonna be listed on that form. So if we're doing a wedding at a venue, typically you'll have the license, and then you'll have witnesses sign after, right?
Right. And then after they sign it, I just usually, just to make sure it's, in a safe spot,
Right.
I put it back in the envelope and put it in my trunk and lock it. Because usually I'll hang out during cocktail hour and have snacks and wine.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to find the couple after.
Right, that's true. Exactly.
So for witnesses, can it be anybody, or you have to be over 18?
Yeah, so I don't like check IDs. I just ask for verbal confirmation. I say, are you over 18? Are you of sound mind? And are you sober? They're all so important in their own way.
Yeah, that's good questions.
Yeah.
Is there a requirement to have 2 witnesses or just 1?
You need 1.
Okay.
Maximum is 2. So sometimes when I and you've probably done like smaller, like really tiny elopement kind of ceremonies too, where it's just the couple, the photographer, and the officiant. The 1 witness could just be the photographer.
Yeah, I've actually
and that's all you need.
I've done it twice
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Signed the
Yeah.
license twice.
Yeah, and so then after the license is in my hands, I usually mail it out the next business day.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of information at the bottom that I have to fill out, and I mail it certified with tracking, and then send it over to the couple, and then it's like, hey, we're done. Congrats.
Simple process.
Yeah, it is pretty easy.
So I have a couple questions that may, like, I'm thinking as like the couple.
Sure.
So, like, if I was gonna hire an officiant, like, these are some of the questions I would maybe ask. Like, do you attend the rehearsals?
This is a great question because I actually kind of got into a little back and forth with another officiant about this on something that I had posted. It was a reel where I had said, okay, so you have your officiant attending the rehearsal. Should you invite them to the rehearsal dinner?
Oh.
And so I said, just to be courteous, you should, especially because everybody else in the bridal party that's there, that's going, like, it's everybody but the officiant that goes to dinner.
Right.
It's like, just be nice, say yes. But anyway, so with actually attending the rehearsal, some officiants just flat out don't. They refuse to do it because it can potentially take away an evening of work for them.
Right.
What I do instead is I offer it as a package or a part of one of my packages. I believe it's the romantic package.
Nice.
I have different packages. There's a chic, whimsical, romantic.
Okay.
They're fun. So as part of the romantic package, it's included, but it doesn't cost twice as much because it could be taking away from an evening for me. It just means, okay, well then, I make a little extra money with this one wedding instead of doing 2. So I'm always open to it. It just kind of depends if they can book me and I haven't been booked already for another wedding.
Exactly.
Yeah, but some officiants just flat out won't do it.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Because I could imagine, like, it would be really beneficial maybe for, like, the couple to kind of practice, right?
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends on what you're doing during the ceremony. If you're doing a really, like, bare bones, super simple ceremony, you don't necessarily need to practice the ring exchange. But you can get some helpful tips from the officiant, like what to do with your hands when you're standing up there.
Oh, my next question.
Yeah. Oh, I'm beating you to it.
Because I've seen some ceremonies where, coming from as a photographer, I've had couples where they're both facing, so their backs.
They're facing the officiant.
Yeah. They're not turned inward. So, like, we can't see their faces. Yeah. So what's your thoughts on that?
So I think that largely has to do with like really traditional religious ceremonies. They either are used to attending ceremonies where the couple is facing the officiant, or their parents just told them, like, that's what you're supposed to do, right? Or some other family member. I did a wedding recently. Maybe it wasn't recently. It was probably like 6 months ago in Balboa Park. At a chapel there. I think it's St. Francis Chapel or something like that. Oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah. So the couple came in and, like, they both were up there and they were facing me, and I'm like, okay, how am I going to transition us out of looking like this? Yeah. Because, it's fine, but for photos, it doesn't look great.
Exactly.
So as, like, everyone was getting seated, I just grabbed their shoulders, just pushed them inward, like, face each other. Yeah. Fix her dress again.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hands. Okay. Because, so having the officiant at the rehearsal helps because we can kind of go over those things during the rehearsal instead of me fixing you as we're up there. Yeah. But I mean, one way or another, like the photos are going to end up being great because I will fix you if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Because eventually they're going to have to face each other anyways for the vows or the ring exchange.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I mean, it could be cool to have some pictures of them facing the officiant, but it seems really rigid and like impersonal that way when they're not looking at each other. Because people like love to see the love and the intimacy, right?
That's the way I think, because like, okay, you guys are about to get married and you're not looking at each other, you're looking at the officiant.
Right.
It's like, it doesn't make sense for me in my own personal way.
Yeah, I think it's just when the ceremonies are heavily religious, it makes more sense because there's going to be some semblance of a sermon or something akin to that, depending upon the denomination.
Yeah, because I know like Catholic ceremonies, right?
I was raised Catholic, so I know them too.
Yeah, there you go, myself as well. And some are very strict, like they have their own chairs, right? They can't even like, they're facing the priest. And then I've had some ceremonies where the priest was like, no touching yet, like until
the
like,
kiss.
The kiss. I'm like, it just depends, right?
Yeah.
I mean, on who's the priest for the ceremony.
And how like traditional that specific, I suppose parish would be. It just kind of depends. Yeah,
exactly.
Wow. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've had some situations where. I get it. I think it was because it was one of those like hot summer days, and the way the sun was hitting the ceremony was direct. So the officiant was, the sun was right in his face. So he decided at the last minute to go behind the couple and face the couple. So his back is now turned away from the guests.
That looks great in the photos.
Yeah, it was so weird. Well, it was weird for everybody because like now like you can't hear him as well.
Right.
And then like his back is facing everybody, so it was just kind of.
Did he have a mic?
He did. Fortunately, he did have a mic, so everybody could hear him. But it was still kind of weird. Imagine if he didn't have a mic.
Yeah.
Like his voice would echo that way away from everybody. But it was just because of the sun. Maybe have some sunglasses. I don't know.
Yeah, no, or just suffer through it.
Yeah.
So I do really odd, random things to prepare on the day of a ceremony. So I don't drink carbonated beverages several hours before. Because can you imagine? I've got a mic in my face and then just bad.
Oh, your burp.
So I don't do that.
Okay.
And then, like, I will make sure that I play like really lyrically, like vocally charged music on the way there to kind of like warm up my voice.
Yeah.
And what was the other thing I was thinking about?
Do you drink coffee before?
Yeah, I'll have coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, I need coffee. Coffee is life. But there's other like random little things that I'm like, oh, I don't do that, and I remembered it when you were saying something earlier, but I forgot.
Do you? Kind of some officiants, they want to stand up there like like before even a ceremony. So do you like walking down the aisle?
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I think it makes it official. Like, okay, now the officiant's walking down. Now it's gonna get started. Like, everybody knows it's gonna happen.
Yeah, so sometimes I'll go. Like, it's funny because it just kind of depends on what each couple wants me to do. Like sometimes I'll go in with the music as part of the processional. Other times I'll just walk up and that'll be everyone's kind of cue that we are going to be getting started momentarily.
Yeah.
A lot of couples lately have really liked when I say to everyone, hey, just so you know, the bride and groom or the couple has requested that we enjoy the ceremony, how do I say it, with the beauty of this moment with our eyes and hearts rather than behind a screen or a lens.
Oh, that's nice.
So
that's nice.
Please put away your phones, cameras, all that stuff.
That was my next question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I've had this conversation with other vendors as well in regarding cell phones and tablets, whatever electronic devices.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on like if the couple says, oh, you know what, you can have your phones out, blah blah blah. Like, do you prefer whatever your couple wants, or?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really bear any weight on what I do. It's really just a bummer when it comes to the photos, including the guests. So like I mostly ask, like I ask every single couple if they want me to do that. And part of the reason why I ask is because I know in photos it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
It looks like you've just got paparazzi instead of guests. Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember the other weird thing that I do to prepare.
Okay.
If I know it's an outdoor venue, I won't wear sunglasses, so I'm not like squinting the whole time in all the pictures.
Yeah.
Weird things, but they make a difference.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Whatever you got to do, prepare.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm all about telling everyone, put your phones away, enjoy the moment. Like, there's gonna be a wonderful photos. Like, people don't frivolously just pick their photographers. Most people don't.
Yeah, exactly.
They put time into it. They interview. They talk to more than one person.
Yeah.
They look at people's work.
Exactly. And I think it goes for every single vendor, right? Like, it's your wedding. It's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
So, like, every person that you choose is so important because you want to make sure, like, they're the right vendor for your wedding. And for me, as a photographer, the only thing I don't like is when I don't mind you taking a photo really quick. It's when like their hand is sticking out forever, and most of the time it's because they're taking a video
like this.
Yeah, they're taking like a whole video, and they're not aware because they get caught up in the moment.
Right.
And I get it. Like, they're just trying to make sure it's recording. I don't know. And I get it. They want that moment for themselves as well.
Yeah. I mean, I get it too. It's like you want some documentation on your phone, like, immediately. Yeah. It's the instant gratification kind of thing that comes with social media, I think, and smartphones.
Yeah, exactly.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
Has there been any like situations, because sometimes people like randomly like shout something. I don't know. Like, I've had one wedding where somebody like made a ruckus. Like, what's your, like, how do you approach if someone's like noisy
during a ceremony,
or like a baby starts crying?
Yeah, I mean, like, if a baby's crying excessively and like the parent or whomever's watching them is not like excusing themselves, I'll be like, okay, like, this is supposed to be happy, remember? Like, just kind of like lean into a joke with it a little bit to hopefully help them take the hint. I haven't had anybody, like an adult or even like a child like over 4 be disruptive.
Okay.
I mean, I think that would really only happen if they were like drunk. I don't know.
Have you had any situations like that where someone was like drunk or from the bridal party?
I mean, I've had like, I've walked into the groom's like room before just to check in and before the ceremony, and it's like, wow, it smells like a bar in here, and it also smells like a certain type of herb. It's like, you guys gonna be able to stand up there? Don't make sure you don't lock your knees. Like, you all right?
Hydrate. Have you had anybody pass out?
No.
Okay.
No. I get asked a lot though, like, have I ever had anyone like object to the wedding?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because like I don't even offer that as an option because I'm like, weddings, as you know, are so incredibly expensive. Mm-hmm. If someone's gonna wait until the day of your wedding, they need to just not say anything at all.
Yeah.
Or reimburse you completely that day.
That makes sense.
Because it's like so yeah, I don't even bother asking it.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because it's such like an old school kind of question, but like we see it in movies, so we get accustomed to thinking that we still ask that. And I mean, gosh, there may be in certain denominations people still ask, but not me.
That's a good point. Like, they'll make don't even like point that out during the ceremony.
Yeah, it's like, don't ruin the moment just because you waited till the last minute.
Exactly. That's awesome. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been to a lot of different wedding venues. Mm-hmm. Is there one in particular that you really enjoy going to?
Oh, there's so many beautiful ones though.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it is. Like, so I just did one in Idlewild at the Harvey House.
I've heard of that. I've never been there.
They're a newer venue. Yeah. They're gorgeous. Like, it's a house, as you can imagine by their name. So it's this house that has like, it was supposed to be a nice spring day, but it ended up snowing. So it was gorgeous that they had like the ceremony out, like it kind of in like a backyard sort of area with all these pine trees, like really tall trees. And like, just, it feels very cozy. But they were still able, like, they had a pretty large wedding. I want to say it was like maybe like 60 guests, which I think is pretty big for a house when you think about it, right? And it's like the only area that people were allowed to be in was downstairs. So that one's a really fun one for like a smaller venue.
That's awesome.
There's one in Fallbrook, the Grand Tradition.
Oh, yes.
Estate and Gardens.
Yes, that is beautiful.
Oh my gosh. You would never know that it was there.
Yeah, because it's kind of hidden,
It
even though
is.
it's like within the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in Fallbrook, and you're like, okay, Fallbrook, like cute little area.
Yeah.
No, this place, it's just so like lush and green and almost like tropical.
Yeah, because they have multiple areas where you can get married.
Yeah, there's like a building right next to it that has a different feel to it, but the Grand Tradition, like the gardens it was lovely. Yeah. And I think I did that wedding. It might have been the same. Oh no, I think it was last May. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I would love to go back there. Yeah. And that whole staff, like they all have walkies, like super on it, organized. Like that's a part of a venue that really matters to me too. It's like, does everybody have it together that's working there? Like, can they like help me if I have a question? Like, do they know where people are that I need to talk to?
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I think having like good venue staff, makes things easier for all the vendors that are coming on site. Because sometimes, like, if I've never been to a venue, like I kind of want to get to know some of the people there. So like, where's number one, where's the restrooms, right?
Yeah.
Number two is like, do you have any like water for the guests or something, just in case, like, you know, if it's a hot day, right? I mean, and then if there's a coordinator that can help direct the guests to know where the actual ceremony site is,
right?
Because sometimes, like, even like at some venues, it's so big, it's like, okay, where do I go? You know?
Yeah.
Awesome. In terms of like your inspirations and you know, from like going to college and things like that, has there been anyone in your life that has inspired you to like really dive into like this creativity world, like creating unique experiences for clients? Like,
I mean, there's a lot of people that have just kind of encouraged me along the way. It's just different because this was so not a part of my plan. Yeah. That it's hard. Like, I don't have a person to specifically pinpoint, like, this person inspired me to do this. But in regards to like my creativity and like leaning into that, I mean, my parents, but more specifically my mom, really like encouraged that in me as a kid growing up, and it just clearly stuck and is now serving me well. So I would say awesome. Mom. Hi, Mom.
There you go. Shout out to Mom. Is there any books right now that you're reading that's kind of like really just top of mind?
Like in relation to officiating, or just anything?
Anything, yeah.
Right now I'm reading slowly because I'm so distracted with a million other things going on in my life. But right now I'm reading Dying of Politeness. Ooh. It's Gina Davis's memoir.
Okay. Oh,
so random, but it's so good.
That's a good title.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, don't we all feel like we are dying of politeness sometimes?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of like maybe some misconceptions in the wedding industry, and it doesn't even yeah, go ahead. It doesn't even have to be officiating, but and I'll kind of ask you some general questions too that I've asked other guests on the podcast. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, bridal party, right? Yeah. I know sometimes a lot of brides and grooms ask me, oh, do we have to have 5 and 5, or like even numbers on each side?
Oh yeah, because then it'd be 6 and 6. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I have my personal opinion.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, professionally, have as many as you want. If you've got 10 people that you're like, I can't live without them. Okay, 10 people on each side, that's it. Personally, aesthetically, I think 5 should be your max.
Okay, awesome.
Just because otherwise, like, you got to pan out more and more and more and more and more for like photos, and it's like really tiny if you're trying to get a group photo. Like, oh, that person's face, that's the person that I know, not this person 3 people down. Yeah. I mean, I love the idea of the more the merrier, but like aesthetically, I would say 5 or less.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any specific misconceptions about your industry?
Tons.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So, first of all, we aren't all stuffy, boring old men.
I have a personal story that maybe it's another episode that...
Everybody's got one.
Yeah.
About a stuffy, old, boring officiant?
Oh, man. We were butting heads. Because, and again, I'm not going to mention the name, but... Because a couple had asked me, you know, for the during the consultations, Mike, can you just remind the officiant to step to the side during the kiss? And he got so offended, like, because I asked him that, and he's like, well, first of all, like, you know, grumpy old man, like, you don't ask me that question. I already know what do you newbies in this industry, blah blah blah. Like, you're here to just photograph the wedding. You're not here to make it a photo shoot. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is coming from Officiant. Yeah.
Was he like super religious?
I believe he was a pastor. Okay. And
probably, not to say that like there's a like necessarily a like, oh, he's religious, that means he's that way. But like, if it's meant to be more focused on faith.
Yeah.
Then focusing on the couple and their kiss and the photo shoot kind of vibe is not that important to some people.
Got it.
So, yeah. But yeah, that's very much a thing. So stuffy old men, boring stuffy old men, that's definitely not commonplace. I mean, I've seen people all different, like it can be a pretty diverse community or a diverse field. You just got to look in the right place.
Exactly.
Which would be the knot or wedding wire, right? Plug for that again. So another thing is that it, like I kind of touched on this earlier already. It doesn't have to be an hour-long ceremony.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think like, gosh, like they're giving us an hour for the ceremony at the venue. Like, do we have to fill that time? And I'm like, no. If anything, it gives you more time for cocktail hour or like just enjoying the evening at the reception, like. Or pictures, all of it.
Yeah,
it's,
more time.
It can be all the above.
Yeah.
It's great. Like, use up the extra time that you have and enjoy it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The other thing is the rules when it comes to weddings in general, but also more specifically ceremonies. There are no rules. That's the one rule. It's kind of like the first rule of Fight Club. You don't talk about Fight Club. The first rule of weddings and officiating is that there are no rules.
No rules.
No rules. There are guidelines. There's that like base, like bare bones kind of template that I just like verbally provided. But you can divert from that as much as you want. If you have really talented, I don't know, like talented cousins that want to like perform some sort of lyrical dance in the middle of your ceremony, have them do it. If you have someone like a friend that is really musically inclined, have them sing a song and play on the acoustic guitar in the middle of the ceremony. So cool. You can't decide between hand fasting, a unity candle, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich ritual, or anything else. Do all three. No one is saying that you can't.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and if someone is telling you that you can't, then you've got the wrong officiant.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because that's the only person that would have something to say about it.
Exactly.
So, yeah, rules are there's no rules.
I like that.
Yeah. I think that's everything about the misconceptions.
Cool. Well, I have some general ones.
Sure.
Another one, and this is coming from like the Knot and Wedding Wire.
Sure.
They had created a blog about like some misconceptions regarding like the bride and the bridal party. One was like, should the bridal was wear white dress? What's your thoughts on that?
Wear whatever you want. I mean, some people, they just don't want to wear white because they're like, I don't look good in white, or I don't like the way white looks on me.
Yeah.
I mean, and that could be based on skin tone or just hair color, personal preference, anything. It's really just whatever you want to wear. I've seen a lot of brides lately wear black.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I love that. If I were to do it again, I'd be wearing a black dress
cool.
for sure.
Yeah, I've seen some brides like that. It's so cool.
I've seen some where it's like it kind of, it's like a cream color and then it ombres into like a pink towards the bottom.
That's nice.
I'm like, all right, not my thing, but like totally respect it. Yeah. Respect diverting from the norm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm all about that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Here's another one. You have to get married on a Saturday.
No. Any day of the week.
Yeah.
Every day is a good day for a wedding. Rain or shine, whatever. Yeah.
Is it because of like some... what is that called? The term I'm looking for is like, you know how sometimes like if it rains on your wedding day,
like Alanis Morissette. It's like rain on your wedding day. In some cultures, that's considered good luck.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I mean, I'd be all about it if it were raining on my wedding day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Here's another one. The father is the only one who can walk the bride down the aisle.
Oh no. Wait, I just remembered another thing about,
Okay.
I think the reason
Sure.
why people do Saturdays
Yeah.
is because it's easy for guests coming in from out of town.
That makes sense.
If you work on Monday through Friday, you can take a flight out on Friday and go back home Sunday.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But so does the father walk? No. There's a lot of reasons why you might not have your dad do it.
too, yeah.
Your dad might not be around. Your dad may have passed away.
Yeah.
You just may not have a good relationship with your father.
Yeah.
I've seen people have like both their parents do it.
Yeah.
Both sets of parents.
That's awesome.
I've seen the wedding I just did. It was
Yeah.
she had her two sisters walk her down.
Yeah.
And her parents, I think, had walked in earlier during the processional. I've seen aunts and uncles do it,
Yeah.
grandparents, cousins. It's, again, no rules.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's more commonplace now, like as social media has
Yes.
really like shown that you can do anything you want on your wedding day.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like the new generation, I guess, of like showing that it's possible, like and you don't have to like follow those traditions if you don't want to.
Yeah. What I always share with my couples, it's like, I'm a firm believer that no two relationships and no two marriages are the same.
Yeah.
So no two weddings should be either.
Right. That's a good saying.
Thanks.
Here's another one.
Yeah.
You should always do a traditional first look, meaning that you don't like it, you should not do a first look prior to the walk.
Oh, I see.
down the
Yeah.
aisle.
So like traditional first look, meaning like during the ceremony.
Yeah.
I have my personal feelings
Yeah?
about it.
Go
I
ahead,
like the idea of like a big reveal in the moment. But I also, so that's what I would do, but I really appreciate the idea of having a moment together beforehand. A lot of my couples lately have been into the idea of exchanging personal vows when they see each other.
Yeah.
Which I love. I think that's just so tender and beautiful.
Yeah.
And then they'll end up doing like more like traditional repeat after me line by line vows during the ceremony. So you kind of get a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But I think I appreciate and respect the whole idea of having an actual, like a first look. But yeah, personally I would go with during the ceremony.
Yeah.
Just because I want to, I would want to see the guy like completely lose his shit in front of everyone. Just
Oh yeah, a lot of the times like guys just turn around, right? They don't want to have people see them crying, right? Because they're a guy's guys. So.
And I can't look at the groom like when that happens. Crying? I can't, like, I make a point to, because one time I actually married a former student of mine last February, and I looked at him when she rounded the corner, and he just started to choke up and was like almost beside himself, and I'm like I'm the one that's supposed to be keeping it together here. Why are my eyes wet?
Oh my god, I could imagine that's so emotional.
Yeah, and I even said, I'm like, I broke my own rule. I looked at the groom. Give me hello, hi, welcome.
Yeah. It is because even for me, when I start seeing the groom cry, and then you look to the left, all the bridesmaids are like breaking up.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh
it's like everybody's emotional.
It's so fun though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like
it's like a warm feeling. Like it's gonna happen.
The endorphins, and like just the serotonin, all the happy I mean, you get those all the time working in the wedding industry.
Oh, it's a happy day.
Yeah.
I love it. So here's another one. I think, and I have my really personal perspective on this. Is you'll spend all your savings on the wedding.
Oh, I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Just because you never know. Not like, it's like you just never know what's going to happen after the wedding. Like, what if you go on your honeymoon immediately and then you get like stranded or something? Like, when COVID was going down, like people wouldn't be able to travel if they tested positive.
Exactly.
What if you had to like suddenly surprisingly stay an extra week because you were both positive?
Exactly.
It's like you had no savings, and so now you're in debt.
Exactly.
Like big debt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just, I think, I don't know. If you're gonna like charge it or like want to blow a bunch of money on it or spend a bunch of money on your wedding, I recommend like putting it on cashback rewards credit cards.
Yeah.
And just reap the rewards of that.
Yeah,
you know, and then just, I don't know, do your best to find like discounts and deals and that kind of thing if you want to still do the big thing, but I don't know, be a little more money conscious.
Oh, yeah.
There's ways to do it.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of venues that are all inclusive, and that helps with costs. Because you don't have to worry about like renting napkins and plates and stuff from somewhere else.
Yeah, I think the biggest factor is like when they want a big wedding and they're trying to invite every single person from first cousins to second cousins.
That's what makes it expensive. Yeah.
And it's a multiplier, right? So I mean, every single person is going to be multiplied by the number of food you provide, the table, the alcohol. I mean,
and it's like $70 a plate for people at least usually, like at like bigger venues, and it's like, oh,
exactly.
Like that adds up.
Yeah,
I mean, and it's cool. They're giving you a gift and like showing up and celebrating you and drinking and everything. It's open bar or whatever, but it ends up that adds up so quickly.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, it's like if you can afford it and you're able to sustain, like, you know, if you have enough, I guess.
Yeah.
And if it's like makes sense for you and you're able to still have some savings, okay, that's totally fine in my opinion. But if you're trying to like
nothing at the end.
Yeah, nothing at the end, like you're overspending, like you're trying to pull money from different things, it's like I think you should really dial that back.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it would be good to sit down with your partner and assess before you start booking things what is most important to us. And usually people will say photographer and videographer is like pretty top-notch important. And then probably the venue too, because you want the photos and video and everything to end up looking great. And then just kind of trickle it down from there, like what's the least important factor here? Like how much money are we willing to spend on this because it's not as important as making sure we have the great photos.
Right, exactly. And then, you know, how about maybe putting more of the money into your honeymoon, right? I mean, that's why we're here for the wedding. It's like it's all about you guys. Like, and I think coming from like a Filipino family, like we're such a big family that everyone wants to attend the wedding, and it's like so they put so much money into like the wedding that they don't have, you know, as much money towards their honeymoon. It's like, man, it's like it should be the other way around.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but that's just what happens when you have big weddings, though. It's like if you want to have that big, like semi-traditional kind of wedding or super traditional wedding, that is the trade-off usually. And it's not a bad thing. It just means, you know, you got to plan for it and prepare and, you know, not deal with the fallout, but, you know, like handle the repercussions of it later, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Positive or negative.
Yeah. Here's a couple more. I think
sure.
A lot of the weddings now, it's like they're really transitioning away from this, but you have to serve cake for dessert.
Oh yeah, I've seen people do donut bars.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm all about donuts. So much. So I've seen donut bars, I've seen cupcakes, which, I mean, it's cake still, but like cupcakes is convenient because you're not like cutting a bunch of pieces, you know, you just grab one and go.
Yeah.
And you can get really creative with the presentation of all this too, which I appreciate. I've also seen churros.
Ooh,
my best friend had churros at her wedding.
I love churros.
And it was like really jazzed up churros, like chocolate dipped and like swirled and stuff. Yeah. Bomb. So good.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's so many, like I really believe that social media has like really influenced a lot of the weddings, you know?
It's diversified.
I even like recently, the wedding I did last week, I saw a video on TikTok and I was like, oh, that's an awesome idea. Because I like to keep it fun and light for the couple. And basically, it was like a small portion of the reception. It's like maybe 2-3 minutes. Just photobomb the couple.
Oh, I saw that too. Yeah.
So you only have 2 minutes. So whoever, like, you have to be quick, right? And whether it's going to be at their sweetheart table or like right before they do like the bouquet toss, whatever. Like people just walk up really quick. They have like 5 seconds. Do your funny pose with the couple, and then next person comes up, and it just keeps it light. And light and
that's fun. I like. People are getting really creative with the little extra things you can do during the ceremony or reception. I'm into it.
Have you seen any new trends recently?
During any of it?
Oh, any part of the wedding.
I've seen a lot of people get more creative with the rituals.
Okay.
Just because like the sky's the limit with really what you want to do. It's just some sort of like thing that the couple does together.
Right.
And then it's like, we'll call that the ceremony. Like the couple, I just married a couple weekends ago. It was, they did a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like they had their best man and maid of honor prepare the slices, and then they smushed them together and each took a bite.
Well, what was the story behind that?
You know, I just kind of presented it as like there's things that we just know in this life that just go together really well. Like there's Sundays and brunch, peanut butter and jelly.
That's awesome.
And with that, they're great on their own, but then when they are combined, they're better together.
Yeah.
Which, you know, makes for a nice metaphor for the couple.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And they actually made the peanut butter and jelly?
Yeah, they
sandwich?
like put it together and then each took a bite.
Oh, wow.
I would recommend though, if anyone's listening and is thinking, I love that, have something to have a sip of after, like water. Because then it was like, okay, time for vows. And they're like, mwah, mwah, mwah. I'm like, oh, okay, we need a minute.
Oh, yeah, have some champagne ready.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
But I've seen people, like my couple next week, they want to do a tequila shot.
Oh.
I'm like, yes,
yeah,
I'm all about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just, what do you want to do that works for both of you that you love? Do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know sometimes, you know, down when they walk down, they're pronounced right, and they walk down the aisle. I've seen, of course, the traditional one where it's just rice or flowers.
Oh, yeah.
The one I seen, I was part of the wedding and I shot the wedding, was, you know those, like, when you were a kid, you made this, like, cannon things?
With, like, confetti?
Yeah, but they made their own, like, massive, like, gun, like almost like, you know, like seen the movies, but it was like they made it from like Springle, like
what?
Yeah, it was super long too, and they stuffed it, and it was so loud. So once they kissed, the bridesmaids popped it, and it was just
they're like cannons.
Yeah, it was cannons. Yeah, they were cannons. They just went everywhere. It was awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
I love that. I haven't seen that yet. That's fun.
Yeah, and it was like, it just made you like pay attention because it was so loud too. It's like just, okay, cool.
Yeah. I'd worry about it startling guests. You know, like poof.
What went off right now? Of course, the bubbles are always fun.
Yep.
Especially for the kids if you have kids at the wedding.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. Here's the last one. You have to leave for your honeymoon the day after your wedding.
No, I say don't do it.
Yeah.
Because the week leading up to the wedding, even though all of everything's pretty much taken care of, you're still going to have a lot of things to do to prepare. I mean, like sometimes it's like getting your hair done, like, you know, getting it colored or cut or whatever, like manicures, pedicures, like whatever. People will become, like, more likely than not, people will be coming in from out of town.
Right.
And they'll be wanting to see you or talk to you or spend time with you. And if you leave, like, you know, like we see in the movies again, like the night, like you leave the reception, like your exit, you like drive to the airport and then you go on your honeymoon.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, it ends up meaning that all those people that came into town for you and all, like, there's no rest for you because you immediately go to traveling.
Yeah.
After a big day like that. It's exhausting.
It sounds like exhausting.
It is. And so, I mean, if you get married on like a Friday, say, you can end up like spending the weekend with the people that you, like your loved ones that are still in town. So like the party can continue
that's
just
awesome.
Differently, you know?
Yeah.
I recommend that. Like, do it on like a Thursday or a Friday or something, and then have a couple of days of just enjoying everyone and then go on the honeymoon. Or like, you know, take a honeymoon a little later, like in a month or something after things have quieted down again.
No, that's a good point, especially when you have people maybe traveling really far away, international maybe.
Yes. It's like what, you're going to see them for like 2 seconds?
2 seconds.
During the reception and then bye.
And then bye, and then like they're gone. It's like, okay, I mean, maybe spend like a couple days still hanging out with family and friends that flew all the way from like overseas to see you.
Yeah.
Because you know how it is on a wedding day. It's like, most of the time, the bride and groom can't really, especially if it's a big wedding, they don't have time to see everybody and sit down and actually relax with them because there's so many things happening.
Right.
And so, like, even the wedding day, it's like you don't really have time to really spend that really quality time with every person.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm all for like pushing it out at least a couple of days and just enjoying the weekend with loved ones a little longer.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Let the celebration last.
Yeah. So let's go back to the venues again, because I know you kind of pointed out some of the your favorite venues that you've officiated at.
Yeah.
Has there been one that's like the most interesting or very unique? Like I've met someone that this is years ago, I guess, like 10 years ago. They got married in Vegas on a party bus.
Oh, wow. It's a mobile venue? That's cool.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I have not experienced one like that. Gosh, the most interesting one. I don't know. It's hard for me to pick.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them, I mean, sometimes it's like people's backyards.
Right.
And that adds some uniqueness to it. But there's not one that's like a weird one or like really like avant-garde or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of that.
Okay.
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, I've experienced some interesting ones.
Yeah.
Myself, there was a wedding in San Diego, and it was on Halloween.
Okay.
So the theme was Halloween.
Oh, love it.
And
yeah.
the bride was black dress. Very cool.
Love it.
The table settings were like pumpkins and
yes.
skeletons.
Oh, I'm here for it. The Pumpkin King vibes.
Yeah, it was so cool. And then and we did some really cool stuff with like the smoke and stuff for photos. So it was a cool deal.
Yeah, I did a wedding on October 13th last year in Temecula's wine country at Monte de Oro.
Oh yeah.
And it was like when I was talking to the bride when we were seeing if she wanted to book with me, I'm like, what are you aiming for here? She's like, haunted mansion vibes. I'm like, say no more, I am your woman.
So are you down to like dress up a little bit?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, and like I ended up finding a dress that it looked like I belonged as like a cast member at Disneyland for the Haunted Mansion, because it had like these like white frills and like buttons and like wrist, and it was just this really like, it was like a velvet kind of dress. And and then I was wearing like Mary Jane kind of shoes with it and pantyhose, and it was very just like, welcome to the Haunted Mansion. Wow. It was so fun.
Oh, that's so fun.
I think what was the weird venue that I just thought of? Maybe it wasn't weird. It was just a weird location. I can at least give you that. Which again was the wedding I just did a couple weeks ago. It was at I think it's called Vitana or something like that. It's something similar to that, or maybe it's Ventana.
Okay.
It's in Escondido.
Okay.
It's a restaurant / bar on top of the Lexus dealership.
On top, like.
It's like a rooftop.
A rooftop.
Yeah, a rooftop bar restaurant thing.
Oh wow.
And it's it was beautiful. Like I drove up and it was like, you've arrived, and I'm like, I think I might have the wrong address. Well, and then I looked at the front facade of the building, and it said at the very top the restaurant name, and I'm like, oh, okay. So then I like drove around back, and there's like a tiny parking garage. And so it's like a full restaurant and bar. Like apparently it's great food and everything, like great stuff.
So you said it's on top of the roof?
It's like basically a rooftop, yeah. So they have like part of it is covered by like a patio overhang just for like inclement weather, but like the rest of it's pretty open. Yeah, it was beautiful. Not what I was expecting at all. So it was a weird spot, but gorgeous.
Yeah, I've seen some on social media where it was like a parking structure. Have you ever seen those?
No.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, they had a parking structure. It wasn't the rooftop. It was maybe like, 2 levels down. And basically, it looked amazing. I mean, it was like, how parking garages are, especially the ones where it's not enclosed, it's like all open. So there's a lot of light coming in.
Yes.
It was, oh my God, that was like amazing. That's a cool idea.
How does that work with photography? Was it good? Because it was really well lit, or was it hard because it was like backlit?
It looked amazing. Well, I didn't photograph that wedding, but I just saw it on social media.
Okay.
So I can imagine like there's a lot of light coming in though. So I guess depending on the angle or where the light comes in, you probably reposition.
You have to be careful about that. I think, but a lot of potential.
Yeah. I did see another one. I think it was on YouTube, or it could have been on the news, maybe a year ago, where the bride and groom wanted to save so much money, they did everything themselves. Okay. So, and I don't really know like how they were able to pull this off. So you know when you drive up to Big Bear,
Yeah.
and some of the areas there's like an overlook, or you know you can there's like a big
Like a turn off. Yeah.
That's
or turnout. That's
turnout.
what it is.
Yeah, they had their wedding like next to the freeway on a turnout, and they had chairs, everything, and because it was a small bit on YouTube, I think, and the bride was like, "Yeah, we just wanted to save as much money with a cool view," and I'm like,
genius.
that was like amazing. I was like, "Oh snap!" I guess they still had to get a permit, right? Of course.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they'd save so much money.
Yeah, the only thing I would think is like the guardrail in the background.
Yeah.
Put some flowers on it. I don't know. Wrap it up. Make it pretty.
Yeah. But maybe the noise too. Maybe that could be kind of hard because you know how loud cars are driving by.
Oh yeah.
So that's the only thing I could imagine.
How funny.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So creative.
There's so many. I mean, another one for me that comes to mind is the Europa village in Temecula. And then that cave that they have, I don't know if you've been there. That's a very unique one.
I haven't been in their cave, but I've heard of it.
That's a super unique. It's like, it has a very rustic feel. It's almost like you're like, you know, if you were like in a medieval times kind of.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's no light coming in. It's all like candlelit.
Cave? Because there's another cave at Oak Mountain. Is that the one you're talking about?
No.
It's so Europa. It's Europa's cave too.
Yeah, Europa cave.
Yeah, so Oak Mountain Winery also has a cave like that, but it's their restaurant. It's called The Cave.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah, but that's cool. So they do like the ceremony in there.
Yeah.
That's different. I like that.
Yeah, and it's kind of really awesome because there's a big door that opens up, and there's at least like a 40-foot walk.
Yeah.
So when that door opens, it's like magic, and then the bride and groom walks, and then it's like, you know, they have so much time to walk.
Yeah, long aisle.
It builds up, and then they're in front of this like just wall. It's like crazy.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I like that when there's like a long, like the anticipation. It makes it more dramatic.
Yeah,
and I'm all for that.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about social media.
Okay.
Because I know you're very active on that.
Yeah, I try.
So how do you everybody has their own strategy. Do you primarily promote on Instagram, or do you do Facebook as well?
So I mostly do Instagram and then occasionally TikTok.
Okay.
I'm thinking about jumping back into incorporating more on Facebook too. Just because I think being consistent across your platforms, no matter what, like just regularly posting on them. They don't have to be the exact same thing on each platform, but regular interaction I think helps with exposure. I just kind of gave up on working on like Facebook because I was getting more traction on Instagram. So I just started putting more of my focus there. And plus, like aesthetically, you can play more with like the visual presentation of your page. Yeah. And I just liked that. And again, it's like more creative, more like leaning artsy, but definitely more creative, which I'm into. So yeah, I'm predominantly on Instagram. And I try to post a couple of times a week. I do occasionally do like boost the posts for promotions and such. But I don't know what I need to do. I need to go and look at like my professional dashboard and explore all of that and see, okay, what's working and what isn't with these posts, and then kind of readjust and reassess.
Got it.
I mean, as you know, small business owner, it's tough to wear all the hats. Because if I were just focusing on like being the social media manager, it'd be easy. But it's like, I'm social media manager, I'm accountant, I'm, human resources just in general, right?
Yep.
All the administrative duties. I'm scheduling calls. And talking with people and meeting with people and doing the weddings and customizing the weddings and typing them out and printing them. And it's everything.
I mean, you're wearing multiple hats. And social media is a big one because, I mean, for me, I do get most of my clients on there as well. Of course, I have a website which is linked to the Instagram. But Instagram is definitely, I'd say, like my number one resource for just promoting myself because it's free, right? It's a free platform, and you can be definitely more creative on there. One of the photographers I've met, and she kind of made a good point, like, okay, it's great to have a website, but it's just too static, right?
Yeah.
When you have a social media account like Instagram, you can kind of show your face a little bit more, show behind the scenes,
your personality,
and who's behind the business. Because especially when it comes to weddings, I really believe that people want to see who's behind the camera or who's behind the actual business, because they really want to know you a little bit more,
right?
Than just a facade or like a logo, right? And I know you also do some reels, so put your face out there.
Yeah, I try.
And with Instagram, it's like that's right now at this moment, it's like one of the number one things you can do to create more impressions
for exposure. Yeah,
for exposure. And I know some people like they don't really want to do that because it's so confusing or it's like too much work.
Yeah, it's definitely tedious, but it costs you some time, but what's the end result here? What's your end game?
Yeah.
And then, do it.
Yeah.
Just make the time.
Exactly. And sometimes you just keep it simple, like just have the camera. I know it's hard for some of the photographers I've met because they're so introverted.
Yeah.
They don't want to like talk to the camera. They want to be behind the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely factors in. And it probably does with officiants too, but I follow a few. That's a really weird thing about this like kind of vendor group, is that it's very isolated or isolating, because like it's not like, oh yeah, all us officiants get together and hang out.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that. Yeah,
we're all so different that there's not like, I mean, if there's like a conference for officiants, like I want to know about it because I want to go just pick other people's brains and stuff, but generally speaking, it's not something where you like that's like collaborative. It's a very like individualized kind of job, and there's never like this like cluster of officiants that all work for this one business. It's so different, and I think it's because it's kind of like, I feel like it's a relatively new sort of thing to be an officiant but not be particularly religious.
Yeah.
So we're kind of like, these people who are doing this now are all like branching out and like doing all these different things with it, but there's not this like consistency with what we're all doing. I don't know, it's just it's such a weird group to be in. And like getting together and like talking about it is just not really like a thing. You just kind of jump in and find resources online and go.
You're right. Yeah. When I've interviewed hair and makeup artists, I've talked to DJs, I've talked to planners.
They all kind of know each other, right?
It's very connected.
Yeah.
And because a lot of them, and I think this is one of the main reasons I believe, is because like even photographers, typically we have more than one photographer sometimes. So you're always trying to connect with other photographers because you need help.
Right.
Same thing with DJs. Sometimes DJs need an assistant.
Yeah.
Same thing with planners. You need other planners to help you. So it's like with officiants, it's like very you're on your own basically, right?
Yeah.
You don't need a team to do this.
Right. It's like people will be like, "Are you available for my wedding date?" And I'll be like, "No, I'm not. I'm sorry." And they're like, "Do you know anyone?" And I'll be like, "Nope." It's like there's not even like, I can't even throw someone a bone and like recommend. I mean, there are some people that I know that I'm like, but they're not in the area.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'd be willing to make the drive all the way out here because they're based in like LA or something. Yeah. So yeah, it's like we don't like collaborate, and there's not like this sense of camaraderie with each other like there is with other vendors. Yeah, it's so different.
It's so different.
Yeah.
And some of them, they're like legit like pastors, so like they're not gonna like get together and like
yeah, and they're like, oh well, I know her, like I know Christina, and it's like, wait, no, like there would be no connection there at all.
Yeah, that's so interesting. To think about it now, it's like it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, what keeps you motivated? What keeps you like wanting to officiate weddings?
What did I write down for that one? Because I thought of something really good for that. Yeah. And I'm like, what did I say? There's a lot of things. Where is that?
So I know for me, so while you're looking for that answer, again, I just enjoy meeting people. That's why I still love doing this.
Yeah.
Getting to know the couples and just having, for me, a wedding's a party. So it's like I love attending parties. So it's like it's always fun.
Yes.
And I could see myself doing this for a long time. That's what keeps me motivated, because of course, like I wake up every day and I'm able to do something that I enjoy.
Yes. Yeah. And that's similar to what I ended up writing here. I'm just generally a pretty self-motivated person and really goal-oriented. Yeah. But what motivates me specifically with this, like, I really enjoy achieving goals. And building this business was not something that I originally planned on, but like with each passing like couple of months, like I'll have reached something else, like a different kind of milestone. Like for example, the first quarter of this year, although like earlier in the year it was fairly quiet because people don't commonly get, like, it's a pretty, I didn't have a lot of activity in January. I don't know about you. But you know, like within the first quarter of the year, I already had booked and made more than half of what I made last year. That's awesome. The whole year. So like achieving little goals like that is great, and just building a business that people can trust and appreciate is important to me and enjoy working with. And I also just love, like on a more personal note, I just love the joy that I get to experience at this job. And like basically similar to what you had just said, like being able to get up in the morning and know like, oh, I'm going to be at a wedding today where these people are like so happy to be with each other and love each other and are so committed that they want to do this forever. And it's just so beautiful and touching to be a part of that and be so intimately involved in it too. It's a real blessing. Like
that's awesome.
It's so fun, and it makes me feel like there's more meaning to what I do than many other things that I've done in my life. I mean, teaching, there's meaning to it too, but it's very different than this. Like this is about the grand ambition of love, not education. So there's meaning, but it's more like a matter of the heart.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you guys talk about like when you were building the business. Were there any obstacles or challenges that you had early on?
So honestly, my big thing at first was, when I was just like not sure how to create a ceremony, Google was so helpful. And also that themonastery.org where I got ordained, you know, they have a lot of templates that are pretty guided and such. So I used that as some help, and HoneyBook, which is amazing. And I don't know, are we going to be able to add like a link or something?
Oh yeah, I'm going to add all your links to it.
Oh, cool.
Your website, your Instagram. So we'll plug that in at the end.
Awesome. So also I have another one that I'll just send over to you, but it's if there's a small business owner or something out there that has an interest in HoneyBook, I can send you the link, and you get 25% off your first year of HoneyBook. So that was such a game changer for me because it just takes care of everything all in one place. I don't have to keep track of other things. You can link it to your calendar in your phone, so it shows when you're available or not available for, you know, anything. And then invoice payment, all of it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges a lot of small business owners have is like organizing their client information, right? Because if you don't have a system and you just have email, like even with email it's difficult. Like, okay, when you have multiple emails, like, okay, was this the client? How are you going to take notes? But like having like a CRM system like HoneyBook, I mean, definitely a game changer.
And I think, because they have the whole like workflow thing too. And there's automatic emails that you can have set up to send out to people to remind them, hey, you owe me the remaining balance or whatever. I mean, I think I found that maybe like 4 or 5 months into officiating, like really deep into it. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did people do without this? How do they survive?
Imagine.
You probably forget things.
You forget things, especially when you have like multiple weddings. You know, like maybe having the same week. And for me, it's about really like, I like the platform because I'm able to take notes. Right on the platform. Because, you know, I mean.
And they're private at the bottom.
Private, because like, I don't want to be taking notes on a piece of paper and then I go back. Like, okay, I didn't plug that in. You do it right away, so it's awesome. Same. Huge fan of HoneyBook.
Awesome.
Was there any other like resource that you use to help you like, you know, really become a better officiant?
There was this book called The Wedding Ceremony Planner. And it's by Reverend Judith Johnson, PhD.
Okay. Oh, wow.
I was actually given that as like a hand-me-down book from my best friend, the one who's ordained, Brittany. So she gave it to me. She was like, "Hey, you might find this useful." I'm like, "Okay, cool, thanks." Oh. And there's just various like templates for vows, for reading scripture, whatever ways that you can creatively craft or like approach a ceremony. Some more religious, some not so much. So it's just the variety that was in there. It was kind of encouraging, because then it was like, oh, cool. So like I can divert from all of this because there's so much variety in here. I can extend beyond that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that was a good launching pad to kind of explore that.
Awesome. Since you started your business in 2016, how has it evolved over the years? Has there things that influenced you, or things that kind of like made you look at officiating a different way, and now you're implementing this to what you're doing now? I
mean, it's just evolved tremendously, only because I decided to lean into it more. It was just a matter, because I had a former student help me create a website, like just, a couple years ago, and just leaned into being on the Knot and Wedding Wire, and it just, that's pretty much the evolution of it. Like it just took off like crazy, and then I was like, okay, well, next step, I need to really be active on social media. Yeah. It just seemed almost like organic, the way things evolved and continue to, even though like they're, at the beginning I was just like, oh, this is just for fun. And then like several years later, I'm like, maybe I can do more with this. Yeah. And then as soon as I was ready to do more with it, it worked, and it's been taking off, and it's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Especially a website, because that could be a daunting task. Yeah. If you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. But I think it's a great thing to have.
Yeah, I really want to revamp my website too, because it focuses on the other things that I also do. So I do writing, tutoring as well, and copy editing and such. But I'm like, I don't really focus on doing that so much anymore, because the officiating has taken off so much. I'm like, well, let's lean into what's working rather than like what I'm trying to force to work. Right. So I'm like, I need to revamp the whole website so it's only officiant focused.
And I think for officiating or officiants in general, I think it's really good to have a website, because if you just have Instagram, and again, it's in my opinion, it's hard to really understand like your background, right? Right. You can't really just, unless you do a full video on like your story on Instagram. Right. But it's gonna have to be super short, like a minute long. Right. But on your website, I like the way you explain like your background, right? And you can kind of really elaborate more on like how you got into officiating, and like your degrees and kind of your style. So
an interest maybe outside of it too. So it's like, I'm a normal person. Yeah. Look at me.
Exactly. Because when people are looking for someone, they usually want to like connect. Find some similarities
somehow.
Somehow.
I can't even tell you how many times I've had someone say, oh, we really liked your profile because you're an English professor. I was an English major or something. And I'm like,
there you go.
Hey. So it works.
That's awesome. I think when people really want to like lean into the business, it's because now they're really serious about it. And in my opinion, like that's when I started like, okay, I need a little bit more help. Like, I asked for help from other professionals. I connected with other people. Honeybook, right? Because doing it on your own, it's like overwhelming. Yeah. Like it's too much to handle. Like, and I'm sure for you still teach, right? So you still have that on top of your plate. So it's a lot to think about.
Yeah, it's a busy life for sure.
So right now, are you teaching at still multiple colleges?
Yeah, so I don't have any classes presently at Palomar College, but I do at Mount San Jacinto College, and then I have classes lined up for summer and fall and everything for both of them. So it's busy. It's going to be a busy rest of the year.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you mentioned you do copy too, right?
Copy editing?
Yeah. So I know it's not super related to this, but do you also help like with small businesses, like doing copy for like their website and stuff like that? Oh, cool.
Wait, you want my help?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Again, I'm not an English major, so like
I will happily help you out.
There we go. But let's kind of dive into like a little bit more of a personal life besides officiating and
Yeah.
of course besides teaching.
Yeah.
Is there any hobbies that you do on the side that you really enjoy?
Yeah, I roller skate.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's fun. I picked that up, I think it was February of last year, so it's been a little over a year. It was a very humbling experience at the beginning, because I hadn't been on skates in decades. Since I was definitely in like elementary school, so it had been a minute.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so that's fun. So I roller skate. Of course, I enjoy reading. I'm sure that's a shock. I am really social. I like spending time with like family and friends. I love champagne.
Good to know.
Yeah. What else do I do? I've been learning Spanish on Duolingo.
Oh.
Yeah. So I like learning new languages. I'm kind of relearning French because I actually minored in that when I was in college, but I didn't get to fluent even when I minored in it. But yeah, I'm kind of relearning it now. So yeah, I like doing all that.
Are you able?
And hiking.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah.
I love hiking too.
Yeah.
In terms of Spanish, are you what kind of level are you at right now in terms of Spanish?
Beginner, beginner to intermediate, I would say, but leaning more beginner.
Oh, okay.
I have incorporated some Spanish into some ceremonies, especially since we're in such a heavily like Hispanic and Latinx part of our country. I often have people ask like, "Oh, can you do bilingual?" And I'm like, "Can I? Yeah. Should I? No. I'm capable, but I don't want to ruin it, you know."
Yeah.
So usually I'll if they ask me to incorporate just bits and pieces, I'll say good afternoon everyone, y bienvenidos, like something like that. At the beginning for everyone to rise for the bride, I'll say, oh man, now I just totally forgot what it was.
I know how to sit down, but
Todos de pie para la novia.
Oh, there you go.
And then tomen asiento, por favor, everyone be seated.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the extent of what I know that's directly wedding related anyway.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I actually have a wedding that I did book that is they wanted it to be bilingual, where it's like a section of it in English, a section of it in Spanish, and back and forth. So I'm having a family friend of mine just co-officiate with me, so she's going to be reading the parts in Spanish because I'm like, I'll pay you, just help, because they really liked me, and I'm like, I can't do what you need me to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me check and see if I know someone. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, because I know some people that may not speak English, they don't understand English. It's like it's always good to have maybe a translator.
Yeah, at least like directing people to sit and stand, like their role. I'm like, I can at least do that. So beyond that, not so much.
Awesome.
But I've had speakers come up too where like they've read, the reading or something in Spanish too. And I don't know, I think that makes it beautiful. Spanish just sounds prettier, doesn't
awesome. Especially when you speak really good Spanish.
Oh,
When people have like amazing voice, I'm like, holy smoke. And then like, I just don't know how they speak so quickly. Like it just rolls, you know what I mean?
I mean, it just flows from one word to the next, just like how it does in English for us too. It's just you don't.
I guess we're not in it.
You don't hear the separation because you're not fluent.
Yeah.
But once you are, you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's next for Christina Kennedy?
A lot. So, I'm hoping to revamp my website, like I mentioned earlier. This thing is getting weird on me.
Oh, no worries.
I want to tentatively become like a regular vendor at a venue, because sometimes they'll have like regular reccemendations, right? I don't know if you're listed as any of those, but it's tough to be a regular. But I think it's even more challenging with officiants, because I mean you would be banking on the fact that like religious, like in regards to like religion and everything, that I would coincide with evereveryone, which is totally not the case. Like I'm not going to be a good fit for everybody, and that's it. That's how it works.
Exactly.
But being like one that they would immediately and almost like aggressively recommend, that would be cool.
Oh yeah, you have more chances of like landing that job, you know?
Yeah. And if they say like, oh, you were recommended to us by so-and-so, like I'm like, cool, that means you know they liked me and everything. So I'd like to be a regular vendor. That would be really cool. I also have been toying with the idea of creating, because a lot of the times with more established, like perhaps even more like religious officiants, they have like marriage counseling offered as well.
Oh, really?
Where it's not like they're like a licensed marriage and family therapist kind of person, but they have like coursework that you have to work through that like helps prepare you for marriage. So for example, when my parents got married in 1986, they were raised Catholic and got married in the Catholic Church, and it was a requirement to go to these evening classes that it was called Evenings for the Engaged.
Interesting.
So it was like classes to work together and like talk about things like how you're going to navigate your marriage. So I've been thinking about crafting something that's like something you can do and work through online.
Right.
So since my business is called On Point Officiant, I was thinking about calling that On Point Marriage.
Oh.
So I figured out like we could have some subsections where people could work through them, like on just effective communication with one another, how to resolve conflict, how to handle hardship together. And it's more so, and even like how to handle like in-laws, you know?
Yeah.
So it's more so focusing on like the different elements of marriage that we don't really think about when we're getting engaged, planning the wedding, and at the wedding. It's like you're so focused on how happy you are with each other that the things that come after, it's the rest of your life, ideally, right? And I mean, we never know how long that's going to be, but we're hoping it's going to be decades. How are you going to work together to cultivate a strong relationship to last the rest of your life? How are you going to handle each other's changes? Because people change over time. You know, how are you going to lean into each other and make sure that you prioritize your marriage? So I'd like to work with, I know a couple of therapists or, like counselors that I might be able to like work with collaborating and finding material that would make sense. So I'm not just like spewing out like opinionated information, you know, it's like, no, this is coming from me who I've done my research on this. And then this a scholar in the field of psychology or marriage and family, and like combine something and have it be like part of a package or like an add-on that you pay like, you know, X amount of dollars and you get access to all these courses for, I don't know, indefinitely.
That's awesome. I think it's a great service to offer because, you know, I mean, you're officiating a wedding, so why not maybe dive into that, you know, post like marriage counseling after.
Right. Yeah. Cause I mean, I think that's something challenging that a lot of people don't really get from people, because people be like, oh, marriage is hard. Marriage is so hard. And you hear it and you're like, yeah, okay. But like, you don't really realize it until you're in it. Like, oh, it does take a lot of effort and attention and care.
Right.
Way more than, you know, everyone thinks on their wedding day, because they're like, we just love each other. We're so happy. Which is great. But, you know, it's about longevity here too. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very unique. I don't think I've ever heard anyone offer that service. Maybe there are, but that's very cool.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Just a couple more questions for you. So like, looking back when you first started in 2016, looking at your younger self, again, I don't want to give out your age here, but like what advice would you give that younger Christina back in 2016?
Jump in right away. Like, don't just wait and be unsure of yourself. Just, you're good at it. Just do it. I've not had an unhappy couple yet. All 5-star reviews, because they're like, you can tell that she loves doing what she does.
Yeah.
And I do. No pun intended.
That's amazing. Any advice that you would give new officiants that are starting out, or anybody that's starting like a small business in the wedding industry? After all the years that you've officiated, any life lessons you want to give?
So with anybody starting in the wedding industry, just start making connections with other vendors, because I think that helps you feel a sense of community, and you're not going to feel so alone. The interesting thing about trying to make connections with other officiants is that I think they're less likely to provide like a bunch of guidance and help and stuff, especially if you're in their area, because there's not like many of us, and they want
Right.
to kind of keep their territory. But you can always ask me. I don't mind giving out free advice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's helpful, because even there is something that to gain from a mentorship kind of like interaction with somebody, because it's a learning experience for them, but it also helps like reestablish and reinvigorate you and your interest in what you do and your love for it. So
I 100% agree, because recently, the last couple of years, because I kind of started the same year you did, now the last couple of years I've been taking on like kind of interns and like assistants that really want to learn photography. So for me, like it kind of just reignited my passion again. I mean, I've always been passionate about photography,
Right.
but having someone that's super young, like I have like a couple 18 and 19 year olds.
Oh, babies.
And babies. So like, I mean, they're like, it gets me fired up because they're super creative. Like, you know, and I'm creative, but like they have a unique way of being creative.
Yeah.
And they really want to learn. And so like me teaching them, them starting out as like 18, because I didn't start until like I was like mid-30s. So I was like, amazing. Like, you know, they actually want to learn from me. And so teaching them what I know kind of just solidifies that, that I can really do this for a long time. Like, okay, because before I was just learning from other people, now I'm actually teaching other people. Like, oh my God, like this is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you have people that reach out to you as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm all about that too. Like, just if anybody has any questions, they can always reach out to me. I don't mind helping them out, because I mean, all the information's out there. Like Google's out there. It's just, I think if you really want to level up and get better at something, it's great to have someone in your corner to kind of, you know, have Q&A and back and forth, because sometimes in the wedding industry, there's specific questions that you're not going to find on like on Google. Like there's certain situations that I reached out to other photographers, like, man, what would you do in this situation? Like I couldn't find it on YouTube, so it's like it's just easy to access, right?
Yeah, well, and even like regionally, it might be different. How like an answer you might find on the internet might be different than like the kind of answer that would make more sense with somewhere like Southern California.
Yeah,
I can't think of a specific example as to why that would be, but that's God, there's got to be a possibility for that, right? Where it's like is just having that interaction with another human directly that is in your field, in your area, can make all the difference.
Exactly. And great point about connecting with other vendors, because I think that is one of the most effective ways to get in the industry. Yeah. Even if you don't have a lot of experience, but connecting with like not just your niche, like maybe with the planners, with the venue, just putting your name out there, because when you start making connections, then you kind of build like a referral system of like people referring you, because now they know you. And if you did it all by yourself, like you're a lone wolf out there, like it's hard, because you're gonna eventually have to work with these people. Like, I mean, a wedding day is like, I don't know how many vendors sometimes, 10, 12 sometimes. So
definitely, it's hard to be an introvert in this field, you know.
Super, unless you're like, I don't know which vendor would be like not really
florist. I could be an introvert, right?
I guess so. Yeah, because I've interviewed. Shout out to Nature of Things down here in downtown Riverside. It's funny because they're a mother and daughter team. Oh, fun! And the daughter's more extrovert, and then the mother's, you know,
the introvert.
Yeah, the introvert. And so they kind of balance each other out. But yeah, I could see that though. Like, well, you don't really need as much interaction with the florist.
But you still gotta, like, I mean, yeah, that's tough, because it's like your work should be kind of like selling what you do, right? However, you as a human also is going to factor in.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not as much.
Not as much.
But it can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think the other vendors, like photographers, videographers, DJs, I mean, we really have to get to know the couple, like, super deep, right?
Well, like, you've got to be able to corral a crowd of people, too, at a ceremony. Like, all right, everybody look this way. You can't just be like, hello, excuse me, pardon me, can we look this way? No, you just got to shout at them, you know? Everybody look.
Yeah, exactly.
Look that way, this way, woo.
Yeah, you got to command presence.
You got to be a hype man and everything,
Have you ever thought of becoming an MC?
I could. I mean, I'd be down.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, you seem like you would fit perfectly into like a, you know, master of ceremonies. I mean, you already do officiating, so like, why not just host the reception?
Yet another pretty like male-dominated field, right? Just like officiating, but you know, why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, something different. But, awesome. Well, Thank you so much, Christina.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, super amazing. I think I'll have you on for like maybe another episode, maybe like a
talk about specifics of something.
Yeah, specific.
That'd be cool.
Story that you had,
yeah.
and maybe we could dive deep into that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun talking to you. I mean,
Same.
learning your story.
Yeah.
Again, if anybody needs an officiant in Southern California, how can people find you, Christina?
Easiest way is On Point Officiant. It's through Instagram. That's my handle. All one word, no like any characters or anything in the middle. On Point Officiant.
Awesome. What's your Instagram handle?
That's what it is.
Oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
How about your website?
Website is itsonpoint.co, not .com.
Okay.
So you can go there and then click contact us and find me there, or you can just send me a DM on Instagram. Those are the easiest ways to get a hold of me.
Cool. And we'll link all her details in the description below.
Yeah.
And if you guys are listening on the podcast, we will also post this on YouTube, so watch it on YouTube.
Cool.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. We will see you guys on the next one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.